I keep my goals to myself, cause whenever I share with folks, they get a look upon their face and their memory floats to a time where their goals and the stars ain't...
What's good? We're going to get into TNA Impact from April the 16th, 2026. This was the fallout from Rebellion. This show, for the most part, was okay. It was kind of filler. We don't know when TNA's next pay-per-view is going to be. I'm assuming it's going to be in May. Just don't know if it's going to be in late May or early May or whatever. They may do it a couple weeks after Backlash, probably, I would presume. Because they need at least 4 weeks to build a decent card. Because the TNA Plus shows are very hit or miss for me, basically. Sometimes they do good, and then sometimes they're like super duds. And that's the problem that I don't like about TNA. I wish they would do more actual pay-per-views and less TNA Plus events, right? Because those usually feel like souped up versions of Impact, basically, right? That's what it seems like to me. And it seems like they do very well for their pay-per-views. Because they only have 4 major ones a year. Genesis, Rebellion, Slammiversary, Bound for Glory. Those are their big 4, right? They need to have like a big 5. Before we get into the review, so Lethal Lockdown is coming back. Well, no, Lockdown's coming back, which is great. So that's not been done in about 10 years. So that's awesome. So kudos to TNA for bringing that back. That's excellent. I love that. I really love that. Good stuff. Good call. All right. Before we get into the review, as per usual, let's talk about the ratings. So the ratings from April the 9th, TNA, they increased. So they were able to get in 257K, which is great. So that was a 7% viewership higher than the previous week, which was 200,000. That was because they went quote unquote head to head with AEW Collision, and that's why they suffered that little bump there. But this week they did very, very well, which is great. So now in the demo, the 18 to 49 demographic, they went from a 0.05 to a 0.04, which is fine. That's understandable. So, it is what it is. It happens. Again, it's ebbs and flows with this. But, like I constantly say, TNA being on AMC has been a godsend. Outside of that horrendous episode, that horrendous first episode on AMC, TNA has really redeemed themselves, and it's great. So that's good. I really do like that. I really do. Now, I do expect for this week's episode to kind of go down because they did quote unquote go head to head with Collision again. That was because I think there's a game that comes on Saturday, NBA or whatever, and so they Warner Brothers opted to put it on Thursday, which is fine. So it is what it is. It's going to happen from time to time. Who cares? They're not in direct competition, right? They are only just in direct competition for an hour, because Collision comes on at 8, TNA comes on at 9, which I wish they didn't do that. I wish the TNA would come on 8. like every other wrestling show does, from Dynamite, Collision, Raw, SmackDown, NXT. I don't know why when they went to AMC, they ended up going back to their old original time slot years ago. Like, come on, just do your show at 8 p.m., please. I think that would be great. All right, moving on from all of that, let's actually get into the show. So we kicked the show off with the first match of the night, and that was Casey Navarro. He defeated AJ Francis. Nick Nemeth was on commentary. So, towards the end of the match, it seems like AJ Francis was gonna bring a steel chair in the ring and use it. Nick Nemeth taunted AJ Francis, and this allowed for Casey Navarro to roll up AJ Francis for the 1-2-3, which is fine. It is what it is. That's fine. It makes sense. I mean, it's pro wrestling. We're always going to have 2 or 3 distraction finishes. Like, it happens in AEW, it happens in TNA, it happens in WWE, definitely across all 3 brands, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. So we see this several times a week across all 3 major promotions. So there's that. Whatever. This is fine. I don't understand why Nick Nemeth still has the Call Your Shot Gauntlet trophy still. And Nick Nemeth apparently is babyface now. So he's babyface. That's interesting there, I guess. When is he going to cash in the trophy? Like, when? He needs to, at some point. All right, moving on. This leads us into EC3. He's backstage. He says this is all a part of his mission. He says that this is deep. This is deeper than wins and losses. He's rebuilding his legacy, and Eric Young is just the next obstacle. All right, that's fine. It doesn't matter. I don't really care too much about this at all. Again, I'm a fan of EC3, but the gimmick doesn't work anymore. Number one is Dixie Carter's no longer with TNA. I mean, she's still there in the company, but she's not there. Like, she's not, an on-screen character or whatever, right? So the gimmick doesn't work. Like, they got to do something else with him, but, it is what it is, man. But this feud with Eric Young, I don't like it. And, I wish that they would get rid of Eric Young. Because Eric Young fucking sucks. Moving on, this leads us into the system. They were out next. They talked about how they won the tag team titles at Rebellion, defeating the Hardys. So Eddie Edwards, he complained that Moose cost him the TNA World Heavyweight Championship at Rebellion. So Alicia Edwards claimed that they manipulated everyone. Cedric Alexander vented his frustration over his recent loss to Leon Slater. So then Leon Slater, he showed up. He interrupted. He boasted about nearing a record-setting X Division championship title reign. So Moose showed up as well. He called everybody bitches and everything else. So the babyfaces, they wanted to fight. Then Sonya Deville came out. My bad, I'm sorry. Daria Ray came out, a.k.a. Sonya Deville came out. And she proceeded to make a 4-on-2 handicap match. It's going to be Moose and Leon Slater versus the entire system. Minus Alicia Edwards. Okay, whatever. Who cares? Moving on, this leads us into Elijah. He's backstage. He's pissed off. He wanted a rematch against Frankie Kazarian. So Daria Ray ended up calling him, and she told him that Elijah wanted a match. Frankie was like, nope. And Elijah said, okay, we'll see about that or whatever. I don't know why they're feuding. Please end this shit, please. Moving on, this leads us into Tasha Steelz versus Jada Stone. Jada Stone defeats Tasha Steelz. Before the match happened, Mustafa Ali cut a promo declaring that TNA champions are second chance wrestlers, talking about the Hardys, saying how they're like third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, talking about Jeff Hardy. Then he also talking about Mike Santana and Trey Miguel. And then he issued a international championship open challenge. So, you know, there's that. So basically, Order 4 tried to get involved. Basically, the ref threw the entire faction out. And Jada ended up getting the win via the Spark Stunner for the 1-2-3. Great stuff there. Tasha Steelz is okay, but I mean, she's been in TNA for about a good, maybe, I want to say 5-6 years. Because she's been two-time Knockouts World Champion, right? And she's not done much of anything. But again, I am tired of this Order 4 gimmick. I really am, honestly. They need something new. And I don't know what it could be, but this whole presidential stuff, it's kind of growing tiresome, right? I get it. It was cool for the first little bit, but it's gotten really old really fast now. All right, moving on. This leads us into the Undead Realm, which is great. So Tessa Blanchard, she's confronted by Rosemary, who's demanding a way out of the Undead Realm. So a confrontation escalates before Marsha and Allie intervene. And then the segment transitioned to the arena where Tessa Blanchard, Alicia Fox, a.k.a. Victoria Crawford, and Mila Moore, they were emerged from beneath the ring. And then they had a brawl with Rosemary and Marsha. And then Allie finally returned, and she's back. So that's cool there. That's great. Makes perfect sense. It's good to have Allie back. Really good shit. I really dig the Undead Realm stuff. It's really cool shit. It really, truly is. It's great. Moving on, this leads us into the Nemeths. They were backstage, Ryan and Nick Nemeth. So Ryan Nemeth expressed frustration over Nick Nemeth's attention towards Casey Navarro. I don't see why. The system interrupted. They mocked him, that being Nick Nemeth and Casey Navarro. And then Bear Bronson talked some smack to Nick Nemeth, and Nick Nemeth said anytime, anywhere. So I'm guessing they're going to have a match next week, which should be fine. So cool shit there. That's good. Although I don't know why they're trying to still keep Ryan Nemeth a heel. It makes no sense, really, if we're being honest. Ryan should be doing his own thing, right? Like, come on. He should really be doing his own thing. But I don't know what they're going to do with him going forward, honestly. I don't. Moving on, this leads us into Mike Santana. So he showed up. He got a really good reaction. They're in New York, Syracuse, New York, to be exact. So he said that he wanted to give somebody an opportunity. So he put over Rich Swann, who showed up. He got a really good reaction. He said that he would fight Santana anytime. Mike Santana attempted to make the match official for next week. So, you know, there's that. That's fine. This should be fun, I guess. Again, I'm shocked that they have not put Rich Swann back in the tag division, because they were doing something with him in BDE, and then all of a sudden that just dropped. So I don't know what they're doing. It's kind of weird. I mean, this is fine, but I mean, you know, where's Steve Macklin? I mean, I know he got concussed, but where is he, right? So maybe he shows up next week or whatever, maybe. But I'm guessing maybe they'll do the rematch between him and Santana at the next TNA Plus event in May. So we got to get that match. I mean, things happen, but we got to get that match. And again, I'm still banking on Mike Santana leaving TNA and going to NXT. I really am. I mean, Jordan Grace has done it. Joe Henry has done it. So, I could see Mike Santana leaving, though. I know people think that it's wrong, but it's not. Like, TNA is good, but I think Mike Santana would do very well in NXT. He would be a top guy instantly, and I think he would do pretty well on the main roster, if we're being honest. So, there's that. Moving on from that, this leads us into the injury report. So, Trey McGill's out for a little bit. He had a severe laceration, so he should be back in the next few weeks. The Hardys, they're out. They're out due to wear and tear with their match at Rebellion. Indy Hartwell, she's clear, but she's still suspended. And then EC3 is clear for competition. All right, that's fine there. Cool. Moving on. This leads us into a vignette by Ying Lee, a.k.a. Xia Li. So, she reflects on her journey coming to TNA and her friendship with Xia Brookside. Then she begins to express confusion and heartbreak over Xia's betrayal. Okay, that's fine. Moving on, this leads us into Gia Miller. She's backstage. She's wanting to get answers from Xia Brookside, but she's stone cold silent, and she walked away. Okay, that's fine. I do like this. Makes sense. Again, this should be a good little feud, because Xia Brookside has never been a heel to my knowledge. Even when she was in NXT UK, she's never been a heel. So this makes sense. I like this. Let's see where this shit goes. Moving on, this leads us into EC3 and Eric Young. It was a no contest. Referee threw it out, and both guys just started brawling. Eric Young stood tall. He threw EC3 into the steel steps. And I'm just like, fuck this shit. This is so stupid. Like, come on. Who is Eric Young? Like, he's not even a top guy. He wasn't even on the Rebellion card at all. Like, he's not a top guy. Again, my problem with TNA is their roster, right? Move on from Frankie Kazarian, Moose, Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards. Move on from these guys, right? Eric Young, Diener, a.k.a. the hometown man. Move on from these guys. Make these guys producers and bring in new, fresh fucking talent. Damn, it's not hard to do. Moving on, this leads us into the Hardys. They were talking about how they're going to get vengeance on the righteous and everything else and hurt them. Matt Hardy said it's going to be broken season, and then Jeff Hardy did the Willow laugh. So it's going to be the Broken Hardys versus the Righteous at some point, which should be fun. So that's cool. Moving on, this leads us into the main event of the evening. The System, they defeat Moose and Leon Slater. So Cedric Alexander ends up getting the win, which is great. He ends up pinning Leon again. So maybe, just maybe, they might let Cedric be the one to dethrone Leon Slater. But I don't see him losing the title. I do see him probably being the longest reigning X Division champion since Austin Aries. Like, if he makes it, I forgot what date Tom Hannafin said in May, but if he makes it to that date, he'll surpass Austin Aries. So they'll probably do it there. But I do think he'll more than likely lose to Cedric come the pay-per-view, whenever that's going to be in May. And I think they're going to more than likely move Leon up into the main event scene, because it seems like Mike Santana could possibly entertain going to NXT. And to me, I think it makes sense, because people have to realize you can still be you can still be loyal to TNA. As long as you leave in good standings, you can always come back. So TNA will always have their door open. And I do think that Mike Santana should test himself by going to WWE. He really should. I think he would do very well in NXT. He would definitely be a top guy there. He would do very well on the main roster too, for sure. You know, it could be where they look at him as another Eddie Guerrero. I mean, that would be great. You know, that'd be excellent. You know, I feel that TNA has done well for him, but I really do think that he should test himself in WWE and try, right? The reason why things didn't work out in AEW is because it's too many top guys there, and that fan base just didn't care about Mike Santana. They wanted him just to basically just grab the tag rope and shut up, and, you know, when that didn't work, he just said, fucking, I'm out, you know? Like, he wanted to be a singles guy, and Santana can go. You know, I've been a fan of Santana for years, you know, since his LAX days, right? But I do think that he'll more than likely jump ship and go to NXT. He should. Because maybe you could put Trey Miguel in that main event scene. You could put Mustafa Ali in that main event scene whenever he drops the international title, whenever he drops that. So there's that. This episode of TNA was okay. I like the Undead Realm stuff. The main event, I don't care about the system. Just don't. I'm a fan of Cedric Alexander. I'm just not a fan of Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers and all that. And Bear Bronson deserves a second chance after how he got fucked over by his former tag team partner. How that dumbass fucked him over. So, you know, there's that. Nick Namath, I don't know what he's doing. I guess he's still feuding with AJ Francis more than likely. That's kind of weird, since he should be kind of moved up in the main event scene as well, because he's got the trophy. Daria Ray, she's doing well. I like what she's doing with the whole Santino stuff, with having both Indy Hartwell and Santino Marella suspended. But again, she's only with TNA for 6 months. So does she resign to continue the storyline, or will she just, you know, say, hey, look, I'm sticking around until the storyline is over, and then once it's over, I'm done. But if I was her, I would more than likely stay with TNA, because she's already done stuff with WWE, and she's not going to do anything in AEW, right? Like, there's no need to do that, right? Like in AEW, they would have her wrestling. And Sonya is a great character. Like, she's great. She's very, very great. She's excellent. I've been a fan of her work for years, right? But this was an okay episode of TNA for the most part. I like what they're doing in some aspects. Again, my main problem with TNA is talent. Move on from, you know, the Eric Youngs and the Mooses and the Brian Myers and the Eddie Edwards and all that. Make those guys producers and start to bring in new talent, please. Not just Ricky Sosa and others. Just bring in new talent. Just start doing that, because they need help. They really need help. The ratings, I've been very pleased with them. I'm happy for TNA ratings-wise. I think it'll continue to be like this, where they get in the 200K range and above for the most part. Maybe that'll change around summer, even though we're in spring right now. But for right now, you know, they've been killing it on AMC for the past like 3 months. They've been killing it pretty damn hard, and I'm happy for TNA. I really am. But what did you guys think of Impact? Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.